You've been lied to repeatedly by dealerships and oil change shops. That is why most engines never reach 200,000 miles. Today, I'm sharing 15 brutally honest oil change secrets that can help your engine surpass the 500,000 mile mark. We're debunking a web of lies and sharing tips that make service technicians mad. Watch until the end, because the last secret literally takes 30 seconds, but it will save you $8,000 in engine rebuilds. Let's dive in. Secret number 15. The 3,000-mile rule still saves engines. Do you follow modern manufacturer recommendations of 10,000 to 15,000-mile oil change intervals? Then you're killing your engine slowly, silently, and avoidably. I've opened up engines that religiously followed the dealer's extended schedule using premium full synthetic oil. What did I find? Thick black sludge baked onto every surface like burnt lasagna. Pistons cooked beyond recognition. Camshafts scarred with metal on metal contact marks. Oil passages clogged with deposits that look like concrete blocking arteries. Here's the truth they don't want you to know. These extended intervals are designed by manufacturers to meet EPA environmental regulations, not to make your engine last to 500,000 miles. Most vehicles operate under severe service conditions. City driving with frequent cold starts qualifies as severe service. Stop-and-go traffic preventing optimal operating temperatures counts too. Short trips under 10 miles all require more frequent changes. My shop rule after 3 decades of engine teardowns is simple. Change your full synthetic oil every 5,000 to 7,000 miles maximum, or conventional oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. It costs $60 to $80 more per year, but that investment beats $8,000 to $12,000 for a complete engine rebuild when those extended intervals catch up with you. However, even perfect timing won't save you if you're disposing of used oil illegally. Secret number 14 exposes how recycling oil incorrectly can trigger federal fines that bankrupt property owners. You think dumping used oil down the storm drain is just an environmental issue? That's a federal crime that can bankrupt you. I've seen property owners hit with EPA cleanup costs exceeding $50,000 when improperly disposed oil-contaminated groundwater. 1 quart of used motor oil can contaminate up to 250,000 gallons of water. The government prosecutes these violations with fines ranging from $2,500 to $25,000 per incident. When used oil reaches groundwater through storm drains, entire neighborhoods can lose their water supply. This triggers Superfund cleanup operations that property owners become legally responsible for funding. Drain used oil into clean containers, never mix it with other fluids like antifreeze or brake fluid, and transport it in leak-proof containers to authorized collection points. Every auto parts store and service station accepts used oil at no charge. But proper disposal means nothing if you're buying the wrong tools for the job. Secret number 13 reveals how buying these 6 tools eliminates mechanic dependency forever, or you'll pay them $3,000 over your vehicle's lifetime for a $25 job. You think you need expensive equipment to change oil properly? That's what quick lube shops want you to believe, while they charge $75 for a $25 job and push unnecessary upsells. I've helped customers assemble complete oil change toolkits for under $150 that pay for themselves after just 2 oil changes. Professional services mark up oil and filters by 200 to 400%, with synthetic oil changes costing around $75 at shops versus $35 for DIY. Over a vehicle's lifetime, professional services add up to $3,000 to $5,000 in avoidable costs. The essential 6 tools that make you independent start with a 17mm wrench for most drain plug removal. You'll need oil filter wrenches, including pliers, style variants, and strap wrenches to handle stubborn filters. A reliable oil drain pan with wide mouth design and at least 6-quart capacity prevents spills. Additional essential tools include disposable nitrile gloves, funnels for spill-free refilling, and quality jack stands or ramps for safe vehicle elevation. The Fumoto valve replaces your traditional drain plug with a lever-operated mechanism, allowing oil to drain without removing the plug entirely. However, having the right tools means nothing if you're not checking this critical specification first. Secret number 12 shows how grabbing the same oil you've always used can cost you $4,000 in variable valve timing repairs. You grab the same 5W30 oil you've always used because it worked in your last car? That assumption just cost you $4,000 in variable valve timing repairs. I've diagnosed dozens of engines damaged because owners used incorrect oil viscosity. Modern engines aren't like the simple motors of 30 years ago. Today's engines feature turbochargers requiring oils that resist thermal breakdown at temperatures exceeding 300 degrees Fahrenheit, direct injection systems that contaminate oil with fuel dilution, variable valve timing needing specific oil flow characteristics, and tighter bearing clearances demanding precise viscosity ranges. Using 10W30 conventional oil in an engine designed for 0W. 16 full synthetic is like trying to push honey through a coffee stirrer. Check your oil filler cap first. Your owner's manual provides complete details including API ratings and ILSAC standards that ensure proper additive packages for modern engines. Want your engine to reach 500,000 miles? Use exactly what the manufacturer specifies, not what the parts store clerk recommends, or what worked in your previous vehicle. But even correct oil won't help if you're falling for these expensive service scams. Secret number 11 exposes why you should say no when they push $400 flushes that actually damage your engine. You walk into the dealership for a routine $75 oil change and leave with a $1,480 estimate, including transmission flush, fuel system cleaning, and brake fluid service. I've sat in training meetings where service writers were coached to hit monthly quotas by selling unnecessary services to every customer, regardless of actual need. Service advisors are trained to create urgency around services your vehicle doesn't need, using fear tactics like claiming your brake fluid is contaminated when it's actually within normal parameters. One dealership tried to sell a throttle body cleaning on a brand new Corolla with 500 miles. The most profitable unnecessary services include fuel system flushes, costing $150 to $300, for chemicals worth $15, pushed on vehicles showing no performance issues. You don't need a $400 fuel system flush at 30,000 miles unless you're experiencing rough idling, poor acceleration, or failed emissions tests. However, even honest service providers can't help you if you're making this winter storage mistake. Secret number 10 reveals how winter storage without oil change causes corrosion that destroys engines from the inside out. You think storing your car for winter with old oil is fine because you'll change it in spring anyway? That used oil is eating your engine from the inside out during those dormant months. I've torn down engines that sat for one winter with contaminated oil and found bearing surfaces corroded beyond repair. Used oil accumulates contaminants including dirt particles, metal shavings from normal wear, moisture from combustion byproducts, and acidic compounds. During storage, these acids become concentrated as moisture condenses in the crankcase, creating a corrosive environment that attacks bearing surfaces and cylinder walls. Combustion byproducts include sulfur compounds that form sulfuric acid when combined with moisture, nitrous compounds creating nitric acid, and organic acids from fuel contamination. These acids don't neutralize during storage. They concentrate and become more aggressive. Want your stored vehicle to start reliably after winter? Change the oil before storage, not after. The cost of fresh oil is minimal compared to engine damage from acid corrosion during storage. But even understanding storage won't save you if you're ignoring how driving patterns destroy oil. Secret number 9 reveals why short trips age oil faster than highway miles, and thus destroys your engine through accelerated contamination most owners never see coming. You think your oil is fine because you only drive 3,000 miles per year with mostly short trips around town? Those short trips are aging your oil faster than 15,000 highway miles. Here's what's really happening during short trips under 10 miles. Your engine never reaches optimal operating temperature of 195 to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. This prevents complete fuel combustion and allows unburned fuel to wash down cylinder walls into the crankcase. This fuel dilution strips protective oil films from cylinder walls and thins the engine's oil. After 30 seconds of idling, unburned fuel starts washing down your cylinder walls. That fuel strips the protective oil film and turns your expensive synthetic oil into worthless sludge. Cold engines also produce excessive moisture from combustion that doesn't evaporate during short trips. In my shop, I've seen city cars need an oil change every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, no matter what oil you use. Meanwhile, highway drivers with quality synthetic can sometimes stretch it to 7,500 or even 10,000 miles. Change oil based on driving conditions, not just mileage. Monitor oil color and consistency more frequently with city driving. However, even understanding driving patterns won't save you if you're making this temperature mistake. Secret number 8 shows why warming your engine before draining oil prevents leaving behind contaminated oil that poisons your fresh oil immediately. You change your oil stone cold because it's convenient and you won't get burned? You're leaving behind 15 to 20% of contaminated oil that immediately starts poisoning your fresh oil. Cold oil has the consistency of molasses and won't drain completely from oil passages, the oil pan, or the filter housing. Oil viscosity increases dramatically at low temperatures. 5W30 oil that flows like water at 200 degrees Fahrenheit becomes thick syrup at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, clinging to internal surfaces and refusing to drain completely. This trapped oil contains all the contaminants, acids, and wear particles you're trying to remove. I've measured the difference in my shop. A cold oil change typically recovers only 4 to 4.5 quarts from a 5-quart system, leaving behind nearly a quart of contaminated oil mixed with metal particles, fuel dilution, and acidic compounds. A warm oil change recovers 4.8 to 5 quarts, ensuring nearly complete drainage. Want your oil changes to be maximally effective? Run the engine for 5 to 10 minutes to reach normal operating temperature before draining, but don't let it get scalding hot. But even perfect drainage won't help if you're using the wrong filter. Secret number 7 exposes how cheap oil filters destroy expensive engines when their bypass valves fail and let unfiltered oil circulate through your engine. You save $5 buying the cheapest filter at the parts store. That economy oil filter just cost you $3,000 in engine damage when its bypass valve failed and let unfiltered oil circulate through your engine. It destroyed bearings and scored cylinder walls with abrasive particles. Budget filters often use inferior materials with less surface area, which reduces their ability to trap contaminants. More critically, the bypass valve pressure ratings vary dramatically. OEM oil filters usually have bypass valves rated around 23 psi, while many cheap aftermarket filters use lower ratings. Premium filters like MAN, Wix, Purolator, Pure One, Mobile One, and K&N feature high-quality pleated media with greater surface area, robust anti-drainback valves that prevent oil from draining during shutdown, and properly calibrated bypass valves. The anti-drainback valve prevents oil from flowing back into the pan when the engine is shut off, ensuring immediate oil pressure and lubrication at startup. Cheap oil filters often have ineffective or missing anti-drainback valves, which cause dry engine starts that damage bearings and cylinder walls. Invest in quality oil filtration from trusted brands. The cost difference between a $4 cheap filter and a $12 quality filter is insignificant compared to engine damage from poor filtration. However, even the best oil filter becomes worthless if you're making this installation mistake. Secret number 6 reveals how the hand-tight plus 1-turn rule prevents $2,000 repairs from stripped drain plug threads. You crank that drain plug tight with a long wrench because you don't want leaks? You just strip the aluminum oil pan threads, and now you're looking at a $2,000 repair. Over-tightening is the leading cause of drain plug damage. Most modern vehicles use aluminum or magnesium oil pans, which are softer than the steel drain plug and prone to thread damage from excessive torque. I've seen drain plugs fall out on the highway because previous over-tightening damaged the threads so severely that the plug couldn't maintain proper torque. One customer lost his drain plug on the road that resulted in complete engine seizure and a $15,000 rebuild. Thread the drain plug in by hand until the sealing washer contacts the pan surface. Then turn an additional 1/4 to 1/2 turn with a wrench. That's it. The sealing washer does the work, not thread torque. Most drain plugs require only 25 to 30 foot-pounds of torque. But even perfect installation won't help if you're making this deadly overfill mistake. Secret number 5 exposes how the 1/4-inch oil overfill kills engines through oil starvation, even though your dipstick shows full. You think adding an extra 1/2 quart of oil gives you better protection? That overfill just created a foam party in your crankcase that's destroying your engine through oil starvation. Even though the dipstick shows full, the crankshaft counterweights start whipping through the excess oil, creating foam that reduces the oil's lubricating effectiveness and causes air bubbles in the oil pump pickup. This windage effect increases crankcase pressure and forces oil past seals while simultaneously starving the engine of proper lubrication. White or blue exhaust smoke appears as oil is forced past valve seals under pressure. Spark plugs become fouled with oil, which causes misfires and rough running. oil leaks develop at gaskets that were previously fine. I've diagnosed engines where just 1 quart of overfill caused oil to accumulate in the intercooler and intake piping, a clear sign of turbo seal failure. The foam that forms is especially destructive because it lowers oil pressure even while the gauge shows normal readings. Add oil gradually during changes, checking level frequently rather than dumping in the full specified amount. However, even perfect oil levels won't help if you're trusting this lying computer. Secret number 4 reveals how your oil life monitor lies about oil condition, while your oil breaks down into engine-destroying sludge. Your dashboard shows 30% oil life remaining, so you think your oil is fine for another 3,000 miles? That computer is giving you false confidence, while your oil has already broken down into engine-destroying sludge. Oil life monitors don't measure actual oil quality. Oil life monitors use algorithms analyzing engine revolutions, temperature, load, trip frequency, and idling time. They estimate oil degradation based on driving conditions, but they can't account for mechanical problems like coolant leaks, fuel system issues, or excessive blow by that contaminate oil, regardless of mileage or time. I've sent oil samples to Blackstone Labs for analysis that showed severe fuel dilution and metal contamination, while the oil life monitor still displayed 50% remaining. A failing fuel injector had been dumping raw gasoline into the crankcase for months, turning expensive synthetic oil into a thin, contaminated mixture that provided no protection. Use the monitor as one data point among several. Perform visual inspections monthly, checking for changes in oil color, consistency, or level that indicate problems. But even knowing your oil's real condition won't help if you're ignoring these deadly warning signs. Secret number 3 reveals these warning signs that mean call a professional immediately, because ignoring them will cost you $8,000 in engine replacement. You hear a new ticking sound after your oil change and think it's normal break-in noise? That sound is your engine telling you something went catastrophically wrong, and ignoring it will cost you $8,000 in engine replacement. Persistent ticking or knocking sounds indicate insufficient oil pressure, wrong oil viscosity, or installation problems like double gasketed oil filters or loose drain plugs. Oil leaks that weren't present before the oil change suggest over-tightened components, damaged seals, or incorrect parts installation. I've diagnosed engines that suffered catastrophic failure within days due to improper oil changes. One customer's engine seized because the drain plug wasn't tightened correctly and fell out on the highway. Another case involved double oil filter gaskets. The old gasket stuck to the engine block, and the new filter was installed on top of it. This caused massive leaks and oil starvation, destroying the engine within 50 miles. Dashboard warning lights after oil changes require immediate attention. Oil pressure lights indicate lubrication system problems that can destroy engines in minutes. However, even knowing when to call professionals won't help if you're missing this advanced optimization technique. Secret number 2 shows how sending oil to labs before extending intervals is the only way to know if your expensive synthetic oil can safely last longer. You think you can safely extend oil changes to 10,000 miles because you use expensive synthetic oil without laboratory analysis proving your oil's actual condition? You're gambling with a $15,000 engine based on marketing claims and wishful thinking. Laboratories like Blackstone Labs test for wear metals like iron indicating cylinder and bearing wear, aluminum showing piston problems, and copper revealing bearing deterioration. They measure fuel dilution percentages that thin oil and reduce protection, coolant contamination that causes corrosion, and additive package depletion. I've seen analysis reports that showed oil appearing perfectly clean to the eye, but containing dangerous levels of silicon from air filter leaks that would cause catastrophic engine wear. Conversely, some dark, dirty-looking oil tested perfectly safe for continued use. Analysis kits cost $25 to $35 and include sample bottles, prepaid shipping labels, and detailed reports delivered within days. Now here's the most important secret that almost nobody talks about, but it saved more engines in my shop than anything else. Secret number 1 reveals how cranking without starting saves your engine from $8,000 rebuilds with just 30 seconds of effort. You start your engine immediately after an oil change because you're eager to check for leaks. You just caused more wear in those first 30 seconds than the next 1,000 miles of driving combined. This simple 30-second technique prevents the dry start damage that destroys engines and costs $8,000 in rebuilds. Yet 99% of people skip it completely. After an oil change, oil passages are empty. The oil pump housing contains air instead of oil, and bearing surfaces have minimal lubrication film remaining. When you immediately fire the engine, pistons slam against cylinder walls, connecting rod bearings scrape against crankshaft journals, and camshaft lobes grind against lifters, all without adequate oil protection. The damage is microscopic but cumulative. Each dry start removes material from bearing surfaces, scores cylinder walls, and wears camshaft lobes through metal on metal contact. Over thousands of oil changes throughout a vehicle's life, this wear accumulates into complete engine failure, requiring rebuilds costing $8,000 to $12,000. Professional mechanics use a simple priming technique that eliminates this damage completely. Before starting the engine, disconnect the fuel pump fuse or relay to prevent the engine from firing, then crank the engine for 10 to 15 seconds without combustion occurring. This builds oil pressure throughout the system, fills all passages with fresh oil, and ensures every bearing surface has protective lubrication before combustion begins. On older vehicles, disconnecting the ignition coil wire prevents ignition during cranking. On newer vehicles, pulling the fuel pump fuse or relay is the easiest method to prevent starting while allowing oil pump operation. Want your engine to reach 500,000 miles with minimal wear? Spend 30 seconds priming the oil system after every oil change. Disconnect the fuel system to prevent starting. Crank for 10 to 15 seconds to build oil pressure, then reconnect and start normally. This simple step prevents more engine damage than any other single technique. The irony is perfect. The most important engine protection technique is also the simplest, yet almost nobody does it. Those 30 seconds of cranking can save you $8,000 in engine rebuilds and add 200,000 miles to your engine's life. It's the ultimate oil change secret that separates engines that die at 150,000 miles from those that run strong at 500,000 miles. Now you know the brutal truth about oil changes and how to make your engine last 500,000 miles. But here's the catch. Even one tiny mistake during your next oil change can undo everything you just learned. In my next video, I break down the most common oil change mistakes that are quietly destroying engines, even for experienced drivers. Click the video on screen now before you make one of these mistakes and wipe out years of engine life in a single afternoon. And hey, if this kind of no-nonsense automotive advice is helping you catch problems before they blow up your wallet, hit that subscribe button.